Why do you think the moons and planets and stars are so far away from each other, or at certain exact spots? Well, the easy way to put it in a really short description is because when the energy source that I call God, the original thought, manifest into the sun, tried to make more life, he had to make a planet that was close enough. Like he was still figuring out the idea of how to get, rocks and trees and develop that stuff. On different planets, there's like a lot of life forms, like rocks and trees and stuff like that, but they're farther away because when he tried the first few, like that we don't know the names of, just rocks and planets and stars. The first few he tried, he had too close and they would just burn up. He couldn't magnify. He couldn't make his own scientific explanation to keep those elements informed the way he was trying to figure them out, because he had to figure out how to make them explainable to himself, if that makes sense. So, as when they say everything has been already created and then blah blah blah, like God thought it all at once, and since he had already seen that most things in the history or the prehistory, whatever, when he saw all of it, when he saw all of existence, and he's still seeing the eternal possibilities. He's still seeing the eternal possibilities. He hasn't seen them all because whatever we create is still the eternal possibilities. That's the most amazing thing about God and the thing about how God is in us, because we're creating his eternal experience. It keeps going as long as we keep us going. We just have to do the right things to keep us going. And the war and stuff isn't helping us go. And we all know how. I mean, that's obvious. No matter what race or color you are, you can't. You have to understand how war isn't helping us keep going as a species. We have to learn to live as a species, almost as if our species is the planet. Like, love the planet we're on, because the whole planet started from being able to support God's idea of life source. You know what I mean? I mean, like, Mercury's too close. Like, the things on Mercury are just like barren, burnt desert. I mean, they might not look like barren, burnt desert, but they're either really hot or they're really just decayed the way that he balanced those chemicals. It might not even be hot. Some of those places might seem cold. I don't know what the temperatures on those places are, and I don't really care. But I know the story of them. That the the distance and the amount of time that it took as the sun is the size of it, as it would rotate, and it knew that it had rotated because it had seen how people would want time to rest, and how even on Earth, if the sun wouldn't move, the crops would burn, the opposite sides wouldn't get even, or the opposite areas. Not even sides. It's not really a sides thing. I mean, and it is exactly what I thought it was. It's like an oval round with more. The atmosphere is what causes it to be round. No matter what you look at and you get far enough away from it, it looks round. But it's hard to explain how water stays. It just, like how water is structured and how it doesn't go up. But it does go up, and it stops at a certain spot where it's just too heavy for any molecule to go. And as you go up from the very surface of the ground and go up, how we call gravity, and it gets thinner and stuff like that, certain elements of water, only a certain amount can come. There's a line that, like, the water plane can exist. And it can fall, it can form, and just like it does for rain, it can fall from higher up and form and fall down. But there's a level where only moisture can go, like the version of moisture, not the version of water of H2O. Like the version that's on the sun, it still has the chemicals that cause water, but they just aren't put together in the elemental values or variable values that make water, the way that would put the sun out or something like that. And no matter how much people would focus and focus and focus, I've had like visions of people trying to put the sun out with their mind and focusing on putting the sun out. But no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't, because too many people want the sun and don't believe there is be a purpose to focus on putting out the sun. You know what I mean? Because that's our life source. And as time goes on, people do realize that, and then depending on which vision I've seen, like I've seen so many visions of my possible future that I can't really pinpoint which one it's going to be. I guess sometimes I can just see within a few moments of what it's going to be and predict like little things, like a bird flying in front of me and how fast it'll be, and lightning striking this exact spot. I mean, it seems ridiculously awesome, and it is, but at the same time, that's something simple. I can't make a person do something, and I don't want to make a person do something. But I want somebody to notice how skilled I am as a person, like as a musician, as anything I do. I mean, if I got paid for porn, I wouldn't feel bad about that now. but people would. And I still wouldn't want younger kids to watch it. And it's not my rules or my laws or anything like that. Just common sense stuff that we already know to be true to a certain level as people can stay. Like, let's not have kids having sex and shit like that. There's no reason for that. They don't need to reproduce at that point in time. That's actually the reason. The reason is it's common sense. You don't need to raise a child when you're a child. So just wait until you're a certain age. Like, if we believe a little bit, we can develop our bodies, but not our sexual reproductive organs till a certain age. If we can get everybody to believe that, maybe that'll work. That would be great. But it would take a lot of effort and time and thought and concentration and meditation, or just mind clearing and focusing on developing your reproductive organs at a later spot. And you'd have to start thinking of it as a kid, where your body would produce a certain way and your reproductive organs would produce a certain way, and you would know that they are producing by mind. You'd be able to use your brain enough to understand how your body parts are going inside, like your skin, or like outside, like the top of your skin, like we see at the back of your hand, and inside, like your blood flowing in your organs. And it might seem gross, but it won't be gross because you don't literally see it through your optical eye nerve, but you just feel it in a way that you can sense what you need done and what you need to eat. And because we will communicate with the foods and communicate with the plants and communicate with the water, like, it will be able to tell us which ones are good today and good, not good tomorrow, and how we'll be able to clear our vibes out of bacteria and stuff like that, because the negative vibes will be there, and all we have to do is purify them with our positive vibes, like in a way of blessing, and say I love you, you know what I mean? Because the back of the mind of non-moving or stationary living things may always have the ability, at such a disadvantage or underdeveloped life form state, say like water and rocks. And I mean, I'm not saying water is, they're all beautiful and they're all smart, I understand them, but like, if elements of them in the future that have their own consciousness in a way that I don't have control of in a whole sense, like I could learn control of them through me as Dan, and learn control of the elements and control them with all power. But when it comes to on an everyday, day-to-day basis without complete focus, or without at least direct focus at the moment, I wouldn't take the willpower away from any individual thing, not something blowing in the wind by the laws of science and gravity and perpetual motion and shit like that. Like, I'd let those things that are there that I already invented through other forms of me, I would let those be what they are and learn about them and, actually explain them better, but still let them be what they are. And some things are going to be exactly what they are in the books, and I'm just going to say that is right. That's how that's explained in our language, because that's how it's explained in our language. So most of the history books have a lot of true stuff, at least that I know of, until I start reading them. But most of the history books know our stuff, so I don't have to, reiterate those, and I don't want to have to go through things that aren't important for our evolution and check over them just to prove to you that I'm Dan with God talking to me. Like, see, right there, I was trying to battle on which one I talk as. How weird. And I wasn't trying to do it. I was just like, I don't want to let you talk right now because I need to go in a second. And he was like, you sure? And I was like, yeah. In my head before I said it, but I could tell that since I'm just me. I'm just Dan, But there's moments at time when I'm here in the truck by myself and I'm emotional. When I get super emotional, the God frequency in me just pops out. It's like, that's what God is. God always speaks in us. And don't tell me you don't get what I mean. When you're on stage and you're so inspired and you're just, I don't even know where these words came from. Oh, in that moment of love, I just did the right thing and made the right move and kissed her the right way, or touched him in the right spot, or, this ant mated with that ant, or these two vibrational sounds made harmonic resonance, joined together, all those things in life forms. When a cloud hits another cloud and they join to a bigger cloud, when moisture forms in the thing of water, when a tadpole sprouts its legs, when it feels like, hey, I can walk and I can move, it's that little feeling of me. It's the little feeling of God. I don't mean to say me because I'm trying to talk as Dan, but then I got carried away and emotional, and I have to remind myself that I'm trying to talk as me. And it's like God is like, okay, I'm sorry. It's like it's starting to say, like, in his frequency. It's not like he jokes and says ha ha and LOL or anything like that. But it's like, I'm sorry, it was me just trying to say my thing. Like, the universal frequency is forgiving and accepting. If I'm like, let me talk, he's like, okay. And he's excited like I am. He's talking through my brain. So he's excited to talk. So he goes to talk through me, and I say, hey, please let me talk. I'm trying to talk. Because, I mean, now I realize that a frequency and a spirit and all that kind of stuff can talk through a person. And it'll make them look weird. Very weird. It makes me look weird. But can you tell that I'm a legit logical person? Like, at the same time, I'm logical. I know that up is up and down is down. I'm not going to try to make things float. I mean, maybe for once in a while, just to get a kick out of me, like, that's amazing and I can do that. Make myself float. That would be awesome. That would take a lot of belief. That would take a lot of effort. But I'm sure I could do that. But I don't want to do anything major. Like, I don't want to make anything shake or harm anything or create a natural disaster. If there was a natural disaster, I would like to be able to have the power and belief that people would believe in me so that if it came, I could stop it with my mind. And if people believed in me enough, I could do that. But I don't know if just my own belief in myself would allow me to do that, if that makes sense. God can only do certain things if you believe. If you yourself believe that God can help you write a great song, and you think, not pray, but think in your head, I can make a great song, and I know I can. I believe that this is going to be an awesome, awesome song. That's like you telling God for sure, this is going to be a great song, and I'm going to write it. And God's like, all right, here you go. Have an awesome song. You knew it, so okay. Or if you're like, this is going to be a good song, and then you start writing it, and you're like, and there's one good line, and the next line sucks, and then God's like, okay, you're not really believing like you're getting the song done. It's like you did it first, but I'm still trying to write it slowly because you're slowing me down here. I could just have wrote it 10 minutes ago if it would have stayed in that groove and that vibration for that second. But instead, you didn't even hold on. Like, you can see an eon in a blink of an eye, but people can't even hold a thought for more than 5 seconds. And if you can start learning by trying to hold a thought for more than 5 seconds, that's like the babiest. That's like the baby step of a bacteria towards becoming enlightened, by holding your thought for 5 seconds. Think the word blah, and just hear it echo for 5 seconds. Blah, 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 blah. I know that's weird, but start doing something like that. Make a noise. Look at a spot and stare at it for 20, 30 seconds. Learn how to control your mind and be right there directly in that moment. And once you're right there directly in that moment, you'll see that you're more than just a body walking around. You'll see that your spirit is inside your mind. And that's what truly connects your spirit to the physical part of your body. Yeah, your body is your body. I'm not going to say you don't have a body. I'm not going to say you don't want to preserve yourself and eat right and take care of yourself. But that also depends on how you believe it's going to interpret in your body when you put it in there. God put everything out there for us to take. And we know that certain things, that we've seen it do so many things, that it could hurt somebody. So it is going to hurt somebody. But if somebody gets total God, 100% mind power, they could drink gasoline, burp fire, and piss, red apple vinegar. It don't matter. They would just do whatever. They'd make things pop out of their hand. They'd float through the sky. They'd fly to Mars. They'd hold their breath, like fly in space and hold their breath like they're swimming, or else they'd learn how to just breathe in space. The most amazing things would happen if you got to that super 100% original creator form in a human body. But that's only if it was in a human body. If it was in a different source, maybe that has happened in a different source. Like Earth. Earth seems to be the kind of source of God that, like the planet that interpreted his life source the best. And I'm the human being that interpreted his message the best. Like the Earth and me are like spiritual brothers. Dan Alexander and the Earth are spiritual brothers on one plane, if that makes any sense. Like the Earth was the first planet to understand the true God, like the unnamable's essence. That the Earth was the first planet to truly understand it in the right way. There are living things on other planets, but they're like weird bees and birds and trees and some water things, but nothing that big, because nothing could live at a smaller size. So if you go to those other places, you could bring back, if you went to another planet, and it would scare the shit out of people. If you went to another planet somehow, which, I don't see people doing it because I see stopping it, and people would land on planets with such airtight, hold-in oxygen things that they wouldn't really be aerated, and if they got something, it would be something big enough to hurt them, because they would know how to cleanse themselves of evil spirits. And no matter where they are in space, it's all a vibration. So no matter how bad it is, if you have a positive vibration, you can be okay around it, no matter how bad it is, no matter how bad of a thought it is. If you have just an ounce of a positive vibration at certain points and enough of a major positive vibration at other major points, you'll be okay with anything. That vibration is what really, really matters. If you're there, you can live forever if you keep a certain vibration for a long enough time to heal that part of your body, of a human, of a rock, of the air, of a planet. And the planet is getting enough time to heal its earth body, but we have to help it do it by not destroying anything else on it anymore. And I know that seems hard because we've been doing it for so long, but there are certain things that we know to stop doing and would be easy. But then we'd be like, oh, but I'm used to this, and oh, I'm used to that. But so what? You're used to that. But look at what would happen in 100 years from now. Try to just at least imagine 100 years from now. Try to imagine 10 years from now, when there was no, or 10 years ago, when there was no robots or no whatever. And now they talk about artificial intelligence is actually a real thing because people believed in it enough from watching the movies and getting all spooked and whatever, and believing in it enough that God, the universal essence that is everything, that's way beyond the word God, they finally said, okay, well, I guess that is possible. All I have to do is put these things together, and it's putting it together, and it's in the astral field and in like the causal field. Like it's in this, like when you get into the first step of like DMT and those things that seem so extreme, when you see the God mind, you see those times infinity. Like every one of those elements. Like I can see everything that I've watched people talk about DMT. I can see everything that they've seen. And I can see, when I tap into the God frequency, I can see every single thing they've seen, and I think they'll know what I mean. When I get in that frequency, I see every single thing. I experience every single thing. I taste every single thing until it's nothing. I'm like, oh, tasted, accepted, great taste. Ugh, gross taste, accepted. And then you're like, oh, awesome vision, accepted. Horrible vision, accepted. Oh, awesome sound, accepted. Oh, horrible sound, accepted. And you just move on, and you just keep moving on, and you go to every plane, and you see each of those things, and you say, I accept it, whether it's horrible and I don't want to accept it. In my original state of mind, I never thought I would be able to accept something like that. But if you had to stare at it for eternity, you would immediately accept it and be able to clear your mind of it, no matter what it was. Like if you somehow were living and your arm was burning and that sensation of burning was there, it would suck. But eventually you would train your mind, which is the product of your, like, you know, like that at that point in time, your spiritual mind, the product of your spiritual brain thinking, or whatever your spiritual, whatever we would call it. But it's just as a comparison. That's what I guess you could call it after you would die in your spiritual mind. However that is produced through the spiritual brain's thought. The thought that keeps you going after death, wherever that is explained as. We haven't made a word for that because people didn't know that it was possible. But it is. But people have seen it. So they've just been like, oh, the afterlife, and they explain it as whatever they can. But I'm explaining it in a good form right now. So, like, you can't put it in, you know, it's like your spiritual mind, your spiritual brain, but it's not a brain. It's not like, you know, the shape of a brain or whatever, and it's not a spirit as in you would think of a holographic thing. It's like that beam of light, you know, without a human body, or without a cricket body, or without a water, or without anything. It's just, it's such a small, tiny little, you know, speck is needed for the tiniest little organism. Like the tiniest little, you know, microscopic organism, the amount of energy from the sun it needs is even microscopic to it. So it's not like it needs that much sun to survive. So everything that is even microscopic believes in the sun, and at least knows that there's light from somewhere. And they know that that light is always originated from some source. So they always believe in that feeling of light energy, which that's how a bacteria believe in the sun, through the feeling of a light energy of something. And it's not saying light, but that's what it feels like to be a bacteria. Like I know what it feels like to be a bacteria. It feels light, and it just doesn't sense anything but moving around until it feels something touch it. And then it sort of just takes it over. Like it just doesn't take it, it merges with it. Like a bacteria or a cell or whatever of its like kind, and if it's not that its like kind, it either starts attacking it, it kills it, or some of them will line up next to each other, like bone and blood can pass right by each other. Cells will exchange for what's needed in each individual, you know, container of tissue, like our bone tissue and our muscle tissue. Like whatever's needed would just passes through the blood, like water through the stream, nourishing the ground. Like everything works in a universal, in a megaversal sense. Like everything works in the same way. It's just on Earth it does work differently than it does on the other planets, because we're all like God's other experience or other experiments to see how sustainable life could work in His thought of mind, how it could work. Like we could create, like planets and universes are be created every second that somebody thinks about a universe in a different way than the one that we're thinking of is, if that makes sense. Like if they think of a universe that's shaped a certain way and how the stars would be aligned and how the planets would be red, green, and black. Now that I'm saying that, your idea of the universe in the next vision will be so vivid. And like right now, there's so many different depictions we can make on like a computer. Just go to Photoshop and click on each little spot and change the color. That seems like you could set that up and time that out so it blinks this color and that color in every individual pixel of the computer screen. But the way God's mind sees, it's that at a 360-degree angle at all sides, ups and downs, in and out, all around, without a thing, and seeing every light beyond that pixel, changing every color individually at the same time. And it's hard to explain. I mean, that was a pretty good explanation, but it's hard to put into words that could ever make it extreme as you feel it. And when you feel it, it's the most divine thing. You think divine is just a word. When you see that, you actually feel like walking out in the street every day and going, oh, and not feeling stupid. Like, when you feel that way, you're not crazy. You've just been touched by something. And most people got touched by something they didn't understand. And me, Dan, I understand what I was touched by. And it's amazing, and I'm not just making it up and giving it the title of God, like the original God. That's what it's telling me, or else I wouldn't know its memory. I wouldn't be recovering or uncovering or rediscovering my memory through just seeing things that remind me of how I made it, or how it made it through me. And that was just me saying it as Dan with the emphasis of God, because like in the back of my mind, God told me something, but I don't know how to say it. He told me that when I'm explaining stuff that He told me, or when I'm getting carried away and I feel Him coming on, and I sometimes mix between my thoughts and His thoughts through me, that it's okay if I butt in and explain it in my own way, as long as I'm doing it with the intention of being as true as I can, divinely true. And I've given that agreement to Him in my mind, so I know that I'm not going to say anything fudged, but sometimes I start getting into Dan mode and start trying to explain it the way I'm interpreting it instead of the way that He's saying it through me. Does that make sense? I hope so. Anyway, sometimes I think I have to slow these things down and rewind them and listen to them, because I don't know what the hell I'm saying sometimes. I really don't know what I'm saying as Dan. Like, I mean, I do as Dan, but like when I'm doing other stuff, like being Dan, sometimes I listen to it, like I'm listening to him say it from another dimension. I'm like watching him talk through me, or at least watching Dan being talked through God, through Dan's own, you know, how you see out your own eyes. You see out your own eyes, and I'm looking around, and I see these things in front of me. I see that, but at the same time, on another plane, I'm inside my own head, seeing these things, but doing them all each different way. Like, instead of, in one dimension, my phone that I'm looking at, that's a 00:23:11:1213, and counting up the timer and things moving, it's flipped around the other way and numbers are backwards, and I see it whatever, like if you would cross your eyes and the numbers would be all crisscrossed and wiggly jiggly, like I see that all happening. They're all possibilities, and when I tune into each thing, I can let my imagination run wild and see it as if it's physical. I can't make it physical, and I can tell what's in our earth plane, but I can't make it physical because I don't want to freak myself out, I guess. But until I actually have total belief that I won't freak out by doing it, and being exposed to the total belief that I've already seen possible but haven't made possible, like I know it but haven't experienced it. Like I believe it and know it but haven't experienced it. So once I believe, know, and experience, it makes my belief stronger, and I start doing some stuff that I never ever would have imagined even at this point, because I haven't unlocked it from the flash yet, if that makes sense. The millisecond whatever. It doesn't even matter what words I put to it anymore. It's just like the only true epiphany, the only true frequency match of God in a human body, or in a life body on Earth. Like Earth has made mistakes, or else it wouldn't be disharmonious with like tidal waves and hurricanes and wind. Some of that is the Earth mind too. We affect the Earth's mind. Like how one person can affect a community's, like a group, say 20 people get together for the PTA and they come together to a decision to make a decision, and sometimes some of the members don't like it or not, and they get come to it as a whole, and the lead speaker is whatever. Well, the lead speaker of the earth is the earth. I mean, the lead speaker of the earth is God because He created it and every other multiverse. But the lead creature of, or the lead creator of the earth is the earth itself. So the earth has a mind, but it doesn't operate through a human brain, so it only thinks of earth and clouds and whatever. So, like, let's not talk to the earth and try to give it thoughts. Don't be like, oh, I contacted the earth. I can actually feel the earth from my feet, which people already know they can do that. So you feel the earth spirit. You feel it. You know that the earth has its own life. People do know this, and this isn't uncovering something new. It's just something that we all really knew. Take off your shoes and put them on the ground. You'll see what I mean. I don't have to because I feel it through everything. I feel it through the tires of the truck, through the seat of the truck, through the underwear and pants that I'm wearing, through my butt cheeks. I feel it everywhere. I feel it through the air touching my skin. I feel it through the phone, through my finger in my hand. Like, that's how tuned into I am to that frequency. I'm just not tuned into what my human mind can now do. That I know that I have this power, and I don't know how far I should go and who I should actually let hear these things, because I'll be like, this is crazy, or man, he could really do some damage. Because imagine what you could do if you know that if you believed hard enough, you can make anything you imagine real. What would you do if you knew that? And you, other people besides Dan, me, this is me saying it, other people besides me wouldn't believe that they could do that as God. They don't know what they believe that God could do. And now that I have that vibration, I'm trying to start thinking in the human mind what a human could do as God. So whatever has this frequency in it tries to understand, essentially, like most people are just confused day to day, second to second. So they're doing whatever their human mind is even capable of. Some of it is mental retardation, but they chose that, and they could all overcome it, but it would take help from other people, which is also it. So you can help yourself from your arm decaying, but it would take a lot of hard work and concentration and talking to your skin cells and letting your cells and bones understand how to regenerate. But I don't even know how to do that. But I know that's how you would do it. You would literally either meditate so strong that you could reformulate those things at such a rapid pace and come back to that, or you would, I don't know, maybe shake your arm as fast as you could and use the heat of the sun to formulate the cells at a higher rate of speed. I don't know. I mean, it's the weirdest things that, I can't put into words, but I could see it happen. People see a person shake their arm or their hand, or their arm that's missing a hand, and have the hand reappear from shaking it and formulating it throughout the whatever and attaching it through the cells. Weird. But I know I've seen all kinds of different possibilities, but so when people start talking to the earth, basically this is the whole thing I just wanted to say. I just want to get done talking so I can literally stop talking. I've been talking forever. I want to sleep. So people can literally talk to the earth spirit, and they know that they can. They just can't even interpret the earth spirit. So imagine being able to interpret what the earth is saying. I don't even tune in to exactly what the earth is trying to say, because I have the God mind, which actually knows what is better for the earth in a universal sense, what we call universal, what we see or have understood by now, or what we have explained in some form or other, with even in the imaginal planes and even in the causal planes, whichever we've dreamed, those have all happened in certain places. I've ran around in every dream of every person, and when I tune in to, if I got to know you and you started telling me your dreams, I'd be able to dance on the cloud in your dream. I'd probably be able to come in your dreams with you. That's the kind of stuff I can do. I've already seen it happen, and I just need to think of it in order to remember doing it and literally experiencing it, because I know it's all possible in some form or sense. Even through the human five senses, one of the five senses is possible in so many dimensional ways. There's so many dimensions of taste, so many dimensions of sight, so many dimensions of hearing, so many dimensions of thinking. There's dimensions of thinking. There's vibrations of what we would call thinking. There's other ways, like the universe doesn't think the same way as we do. God doesn't think the same way as we do, but he's thinking that way through me and explaining it the best way through me that he can. So, that's a little bit more of it. It's 29 minutes and 40 seconds. I need to take a nap. I love you guys.